I'm Allison Johnjack, the Cranberry Outreach Specialist with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. These videos are the on-demand recordings of UW Extension and the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association's virtual brown bag lunch series. These monthly sessions offer growers and researchers a way to share timely and relevant information. We hope you'll enjoy and continue to engage with us.
Hi, I'm Tom Lochner, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association. We're excited to be a partner with Extension to bring you research-backed resources, tools, and tips to keep Wisconsin marshes productive and profitable.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our June brown bag. We're moving right along through the growing season as blossoms are starting to open up. Want to go through a little bit of housekeeping in our I have live transcriptions on for those who would like to see closed captions. Go ahead and turn on your live transcript. Want to thank the Growers Association and University of Wisconsin-Madison Extension for allowing us to host these brown bag sessions. And I feel like I'm missing something that I usually say. Oh yeah, when you have questions, you may either unmute yourself and ask a question, you may type a question right into the chat, or if you have a question that you'd want to ask anonymously, in the drop-down, choose to Allison, and I will read that question on your behalf, in my own voice. So all of these are options. I'm gonna offer Tom the opportunity to give us a little update from the world of the Growers Association.
Sure, thanks, Allison. We've been busy at the Growers Association, as I'm sure all of you have, trying to deal with all the challenges that come along every day. A couple of things to announce is that we've been working to fill our public education and communications position, and we've had a successful candidate that we have an offer out and accepted offer, and we'll be announcing that hire pretty soon, so we can make sure our communications programs continue seamlessly. Legislature's out of session, so not much going on there, which is good news for everybody. And at the station, we've been very, very busy getting ready for the summer meeting and a couple other events that we're going to be holding. But as Allison mentioned, the lab is being built out this next week. We're completing the water control structure replacement, and that should be wrapping up next week and the week after. And so things are moving along at the station. We're getting ready, as I said, for the summer meeting. We hope all the growers will come out. We're going to do some unique things this year for educational programming, doing mini clinics on the marsh rather than sitting in a tent talking to you. We're actually going to take you out into the field and you can talk to the researchers who are conducting projects on the marsh. So a lot of things, exciting things going on. Hope everybody's healthy and survived the storms earlier this week. And to those of you out there that it applies to, wish you a happy Father's Day. And I'll turn it back over to you, Allison.
Thank you. And yeah, as a reminder, as we've had all that weather going through, one of the things that makes me proudest of working in the agricultural world is how everybody pitches in and helps when there's cleanup to do and work to do. We've got equipment, we've got healthy bodies, and it's always good to be able to help out our neighbors. So today's topic, we're going to have Pam give us the consultant's observations and looking forward. We're going to have Leslie give us a pathogens and fungicides update, and we're going to have Jed give us a little mini tour of what it'll be like to have our mini clinics in the marsh, as Jed is going to join us live from our herbicide trial at the station. And then I will not start sharing again because I think we're just going to have Jed be front and center. I'm going to pin you or spotlight for everyone.
This afternoon, as Allison mentioned, we're going to try something very different live on the marsh. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a windy afternoon, but we'll deal with it. And I'd like to share with you just an overview of some of our herbicide research plots on a beautiful Friday afternoon on the Cranberry Research Station. I really have two goals in mind for our short time together this afternoon. Number one, I'll give you an idea of how we lay out our very preliminary herbicide trials. And then number two, I'll take you through the plots and show you what we're finding this year. Some very interesting results already early on. We're here at the Cranberry Research Station, as I mentioned, and we also have a post-emergent herbicide trial here with an additional couple of active ingredients that we're very interested in. On the particular trial that I'll show you today, we have 6 new herbicide or potential active ingredients to look at. But first, let's start by giving you an overview of how we lay the plots out in these very early herbicide screens. It'll be a bit hard to see, I'm sure, on your screen as the vine growth is good here, but we lay our plots out in blocks. Each block is a replicate, and each block contains every herbicide treatment that we're looking at. These treatments are randomly assigned within a block, and that simply allows us to avoid spots like the center line in the bed where maybe we have some casseron overlap, or the edges of the beds that may be wetter or drier. We don't want our treatments lined up in the same type areas across the blocks. So in that case, we randomly assign the treatments within each of the blocks. In this case, in our pre-emergent herbicide trial, we have 4 replicates or blocks with each treatment within each of those blocks. So this is our pre-emergent herbicide trial. We'll evaluate visual injury, necrosis, chlorosis, upright growth, bloom, and then we'll get into cranberry yield and quality, of course, at the end of the season. These are very preliminary screens, and because of that, we have to destruct the crop in these very small plots. That means that we dry rake or hand rake the cranberries, and then we will go back through and hand pick any berries that are left behind. And because of that labor constraint, these plots in the very preliminary screens start out small. If something in this plot shows promise, we'll then move it on to other marshes, bigger plots, where we can do work looking at specific weed species, varieties, stand age, growing conditions, etc. over seasons. Because the name of the game really is to prove that these products are high quality, reliable, and safe over multiple seasons, low risk to the registrant. So in this plot, you'll see there are very few weeds, and we do that intentionally. We have 2 goals with our preliminary herbicide screens. Number 1 is to look at crop safety, and that's easiest to do in the absence of weeds. So basically, we don't want to have to sort out the difference between weed competition and herbicide injury. So in one of our test plots that you see here, we do it in relatively weed-free conditions. This trial is also replicated on a commercial marsh in an abandoned bed in what we call the weed zoo. And the weed zoo is full of typical cranberry weeds. And in that case, we're looking at what do these products control. We're not worried about crop safety at all. There's very little crop left. We're interested in trying to figure out what value these products would have if they're safe on cranberries in terms of controlling challenging species like the St. John's worts and such. So each of our trials is replicated in a weed-free condition as well as in a very weedy condition to look at that. And essentially what we're doing is running a recycling program. We're looking at herbicides that were developed for the big 5 crops, corn, wheat, soybeans, rice, and cotton, and trying to find a niche for them in cranberries and showing the registrants that they're safe over multiple years. As I mentioned, as we transition to talking about the specific plot, this year we have 6 herbicide active ingredients in our pre-emergent herbicide trial. We have a couple in our post-emergent trial that we're very excited about. I just evaluated that this morning, and we're getting good dewberry control. In other plots, we've had St. John's wort control. That's in the post-emergent products. We could talk about that another day. But of these 6 herbicide active ingredients, 4 of them we've looked at over multiple years, and we have 2 new ingredients this year. I'll show you one in this plot right in front of me that I'm quite excited about. You can see good vine growth in the plot, about to blossom and bloom. I'd say we're about 5% here. But that carcass of a plant that's right in front of me is leatherleaf. And this particular new active ingredient just annihilated the leatherleaf. It's literally just a carcass left, sticks left in the marsh. So we'll continue to evaluate that product for sure. but you'll also see some injury. You could probably see the darker looking vines in the square right in front of me. That's a product that we've evaluated for years. It's required to be used in a dormant application, but it's very finicky. And if it's just a day late, this is what happens in that case. Incidentally, these pre-emergent herbicides are applied May 2nd. I don't think we could have gotten on much earlier. So this is the best that we could do this year. So now I'll attempt to go through and show you each plot, each treatment that we have in here, and give you an idea of what we're seeing this year. So our plots run in the squares within the orange stakes. So there's a block in front of me, a lower left corner, upper left, and upper right corner orange stakes are visible in the picture now. And that would constitute one of our treatments located 4 times out here. So in this case, this is our non-treated check. Nothing's been sprayed on this plot. And we do that because it offers us a reference point to be able to judge herbicide injury across the plot. So we always come back to this non-treated check to calibrate what 0% injury looks like, because as you know, it can be variable across the bed. The second plot in this case is Casseron, applied pre-emergent. Again, no injury in this case. This is 35 pounds per acre. And we offer that as our current industry standard. Similarly, the next one moving across here is Callisto, early post-emergent. Again, compare in terms of crop safety compared to the standards or what you're currently using today. The next plot that we have here also shows good crop safety so far, and you can see the early bloom coming along here. I imagine that will change drastically over the next few days. But in this case, this is that new active ingredient that I mentioned where we had leatherleaf control. So we're very pleased to see very little crop injury in this case. The next 2 treatments that we have here are a product that we've been evaluating for several years. This is a product of great interest in Massachusetts and New Jersey in particular, because they've seen haircap moss control with it. And as you know, they're in a chemigated situation, so they apply the product and then wash, or with chemigation, and wash it in with additional irrigation after that. In our case, we haven't had as much luck with this product, and I think probably it's due to the difference between boom application and chemigation followed by irrigation. But in this plot, this year, we're also looking at additional rates, higher rates, to see if we can boost up the rate to get moss control. And I'll show you the lower rate here, and you can see sphagnum moss down towards the bottom of the canopy and on the soil surface. It was less pronounced earlier. I think we had some early control, maybe 40%. But you can see today that has not lasted. And that's been our experience for many years with this particular product. However, if we move over to the next plot, this is at a higher rate, a new rate and a new formulation that we're using this year. And if we look down in the canopy again, there's very little sphagnum moss in there. So maybe with a different formulation and a higher rate, still with decent crop safety in this case, you can see some brown moss material, but very little new growth. So maybe at the higher rate, we'll have better success, but again, we need to ensure crop safety. The next product in here is one that's similar chemistry. However, it's a little higher powered. And as you can see on the left-hand side of this plot, this is the one where if we apply it and the cranberries break dormancy quickly, we can get significant injury, and it'll actually prevent the cranberries from blooming. This year, it's been spotty across this particular treatment in this field. This plot looks better than the one I originally showed you, but if you look in the background, that brown square again is the same treatment. And they will not bloom, they will not produce fruit. So this is one that'll probably get dropped from the program this year. We've had enough failures with it, and we'll focus on the one that's giving us better moss control. The next is one that was labeled for a while in the Pacific Northwest. on a supplemental label. Again, it shows us good crop safety. Our big issue with it really is we're not sure what it controls in Wisconsin cranberry production. So this is one where the focus in the weed zoo is to try to figure out what we're able to control with it. The next product gives us a great example of why we do this for so many years before we get these products added to new labels. You can see a clear outline towards the back of the plot and darker, less upright growth. There's the line right back there in the plot, and we have fewer uprights. You can see the soil surface even in this case. This is a product that we've been evaluating for several years. This is the first time we've seen injury like this in cranberries, and that's why we take the risk on a research station in very small plots. So it's one that surprised us, but I'm glad it happened in this small area and not on your commercial marsh. The final treatment that we have is a new active ingredient this year. Again, one where we need to explore what the product controls. But across this plot, we have excellent crop safety. So we're excited about that. You can see the bees starting to work here, and we'll look forward to continued bloom as the season progresses. So with that, Allison, I'll turn it back around and see if there are any questions.
I have not seen questions come in on the chat yet, but this is your call to send us on your questions, folks. Yeah, that greatly appreciated. That wound up working real well, connection-wise, Jed. So
Great.
I think we're in good shape. I guess I will ask a fluff question while waiting for other people to have their questions come in. But as we how many years of trials on average, for example, the one that annihilated the brownbush, how many more years of trials do we have before we might expect the registrant to work with us on labeling that for cranberry?
Thanks, Allison. If you can hear me okay with this microphone, we'll just continue with this. So it depends really on the product. In our post-emergent herbicide trial, we're really excited because the product that we're evaluating is called residue exempt. So we don't need to go through the IR4 system and hundreds of thousands of dollars of research to establish a food tolerance. If we can show that the product is safe on cranberries, the registrant will add it to the label. That's the most ideal situation. In that case, we'll probably do 2 or 3 years of research, and then it'll be added probably to a supplemental label first to get some experience in a commercial setting to make sure that it works. If it does, it'll continue on. More typically, though, if we could show crop safety, you're still looking at 5 to 8 years to establish that food tolerance through the IR4 system to be able to get it to a full commercial label. The food tolerance piece takes longer than this piece showing crop safety. We have to have the human safety, of course, also.
Makes a lot of sense. I am hoping to see more questions from people in the audience. I know we've got a pretty sizable audience today, even though it's good weather, and I know a lot of people want to be out working, but want to encourage people to challenge us and give us their fun questions, whether these are questions to Pam on insect hatch or questions to Leslie on fungicide, since that's topical now, or questions to Jed from the field. We're actually running ahead of schedule, which means now's your opportunity to ask us some head scratchers. Or I don't know, Leslie, if you wanted to spend a little more time on tank mixes, since we've got spare time. And oh, here, woohoo, we got a question. How late would you put Callisto on in the spring? The question to Jed.
So I would not be too worried about how late. You can be within 45 days of harvest or flooding for harvest. What really dictates that is the growth stage of the weed you're targeting. I would still say with Callisto, one of the biggest mistakes I see is with target species like slender-leaved goldenrod going after it when it starts flowering. At that point, the Callisto goes into the growing point. It may prevent it from flowering, and it does produce viable seed, but it does nothing really to that below ground growth at that stage. It's too late. The plant is too big and hardy to control. So a lot of it really is based on the target weed, obviously abiding by the pre-harvest interval, but not going on so late that you get poor control.
That makes good sense.
A lot of folks are having luck with, 2 applications earlier in the year than when we first got Callisto in about 2008. I would say our average application timing is become earlier in the year for sure. And again, I think that's based on smaller weeds as a target, and looking at 2 applications spaced at least 2 weeks apart, between 4 and 6 ounces for each application.
Thank you. Yeah, the advice to hit target weeds while they're small and able to suffer more from a smaller dose. Question on the best advice for moss control. I know that's always a popular question.
I'm sorry, was that moss control?
Yep, moss. Good old sphagnum moss.
Unfortunately, we don't have a good solution yet. If we could get one of these products registered, we would be in much better shape. The one I just showed you in particular. And I understand mosses the past couple of years has just been a horrible problem with these wet summers and such. Really, moss is a sign of moisture. Not much can be done to change drainage in a bed once it's established. But we'll continue to search for products. There are some copper-based fungicides that people have talked about or experimented with. And the general outcome with any product so far that's labeled and marketed for moss control is we get about 40% control. You get that early satisfaction for about 3 weeks, and then it comes right back. So we have no long-term control outside if you happen to have an opportunity somehow to improve drainage or moisture management, measuring soil moisture, priority irrigation, etc. What we can't control, of course, is rainfall. And that seems to be our downfall the past couple of summers.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I have one note that I will add. I've done a couple of field visits over the past couple of weeks, and want to make a generic reminder to people that casseron is less likely to damage your vines when you put it on when they are dormant. So just putting that out as a general reminder across anyone who might want to hear that advice. And then Leslie, you posted your fungicide update. Did you have more that you wanted to add on when to tank mix versus when to get a premix?
Sure, I can. I don't want to hog any airtime, but if there's no questions, or I'll just kind of keep an eye on the chat and be brief.
I'll holler when we've got questions.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask Jed how big his truck was. It looks like it's bigger than my lab's truck. I was getting jealous out there. Yeah. Okay. Well, we definitely wouldn't fit on the same road together. I'll tell you that. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay. So yeah, this is the last slide I think I left us off on for premix and tank mix. And yeah, I was really emphasizing here kind of briefly the differences between the two and the fact that they are different. So we talked about the definitions, but maybe I'll spend a little bit more time going into them as individuals. So we talked about Indar and Abound. These are our single site fungicides that we have. This tends to be our grower standard tank mix together. Rate's a little variable, but this provides excellent control. So right, this is gonna have a little bit more work for you to do because you're mixing 2 things, but really 2 things to mix is not hopefully too much work. Our 2 premixtures, Quadris Top is quite effective for both fruit rot and I think cotton ball registration as well. And then we have Quilled Excel, which is registered for both, but based on the usage patterns for this and the label, it should only be used for cotton ball because it's only providing that early application and not a later application, which you would need during the bloom period. So I'll just quickly gloss over this table that was in the article that I put in the chat. just kind of giving you pros and cons. And so depending upon the year, I guess this one's quite a spectacular one in terms of pricing of things. You could have maybe reduced cost or more cost on a tank mix versus a premixture. It really depends on what's available. With the tank mixes, you are going to get fungicide resistance management by mixing different active ingredients. You're going to have a customized mix of chemicals that will fit your need, and you can adjust the rate of each chemistry. With the premix, again, cost could be variable, could be in your favor, could not be, depends on the product. Fungicide resistance is also being managed by having 2 active ingredients together. Sometimes premixtures can even include 3 active ingredients. It's a little less handling than mixing individual active ingredients, and less inventory is required, right? It's 1 jug versus 2. With your tank mixes, your cons are going to be potential increase in cost, and that goes the same thing for your premixtures. Again, depends on the year and the products. There's a bit more handling compared to premixed chemistries, and it does require an understanding of chemicals and their interactions, right? So you can always do a jar test if you're going to end up mixing 2 chemistries together that you don't know their reaction. But in Abound, we've been safely mixing and using in free rot, so that's not really a concern. And right, it, again, requires 2 jugs instead of 1. Premixture cons are that the recommended application timing may not be optimal for each of those ingredients. One of the chemistries may have a reduced rate, which is fairly typical, but again, and we also see the same thing in tank mixtures, and you cannot adjust the rates of each chemistry. So I'd say that probably is the toughest part of a premixture, is that because it's already set, you're not able to adjust the rates of either of those chemistries involved. So that's my summary. For the presentation, I think I put a bottom line slide in here that you know your marsh history. If you've had high disease pressure at your marsh last year, I know it was tough for a lot of folks. I would recommend taking advantage of that blossom time if you normally do to make fungicide applications. Bloom is going to be that critical period for us, and after that's gone, there's really no period after that where we're able to effectively use a fungicide chemistry to control fruit rot. And I've got my information there in case you see something interesting or need to reach out, please do.
Yes, and likewise, you know, for me, if you have anything that you wondered, send an email, send a text, give me a call. Tom, did you have anything you wanted to close up with? Otherwise, we might be able to give people. I know once we are done here, I'll go be sweeping the second sweep of my leaf hoppers after that trial application. So I know there's plenty of things to do in the afternoon. Any closing thoughts, Tom?
No, just hope everybody is doing well, and we wish everybody a safe and successful growing season this year, and have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.